Hey guys, Intaro here, and welcome back to 6 Days of Snow. We're actually on day 5 now, and last time we had, our main character getting in between mother-daughter conflict, talking about that business life, and him not seeing, the girl in the morning for his breakfast, so we can go ahead and continue on. The following day dawned, and at breakfast it was not Reiko who came to my room to serve me food or to clear away my plates. Instead, it was one of the other girls, Yoshiko. Though in this case, girl was the incorrect term to use. Yoshiko was undeniably a woman, with shapely curves not quite contained by her cotton kimono, and a certain air of self-confidence that teenagers are generally too awkward to possess. Yoshiko had slanted fox-like eyes that sparkled with mischief, and very full red lips that always seemed to be pursed or half open. She was an attentive hostess, very smiley, who talked to me casually while she served my food. She had heard about the commotion between Miss Kakiuchi and I. Of course, she seemed to find it amusing. You made a mistake, mister. Trying to make a move on Rico? Said Yoshiko as she poured me a cup of green tea. She had rolled the sleeve of her kimono back, displaying her wrist and then a sliver of arm. More than a sliver. I could see all the way up to her elbow. Oh my god, so scandalous. I wondered if she had done it on purpose. Maybe she was trying to seduce me. Oh my god, I just can't. Or maybe she was simply trying to entertain herself. She seemed like the kind of woman who liked making men squirm. And unlike Rico, she was not the sort who would give an accidental flash of too much flesh. It was all very calculating. Miss Kakiuchi loves her daughter. Yoshiko continued with her idle prattle as the tea hit the bottom of the cup. She would probably wrestle a bear for her in the snow, naked. That was not a mental image I wanted, but it was so ludicrous it made me smile all the same. You almost make her sound like a demon, I said. Yoshiko giggled, setting the teapot to one side with another sweep of her sleeve. Oh, Miss Kakiuchi can be very frightening when she wants, and no ogre could ever best her when she's in a bad mood. Yoshiko shook her head. Last year, there was a guest staying at the inn who took a shine to Rico. He was old enough to be her grandfather, older than you, mister. And he should have known better, but maybe when you get to that age, you stop caring about that sort of thing. If you're going to die soon, you might as well. Why worry about public opinions when you have one foot in the grave already? I said. I might have sounded non-committal, but I was actually very interested in Yoshiko's story. Even if I didn't have a vested interest in the subject matter, I would have been intrigued regardless. Yoshiko was a good storyteller. This man was always chasing after Rico. When she delivered his food, he kept sending it back, sometimes 3 or 4 times, so he could see her again, It might have been sweet, maybe, if it had stopped there, but he was so very insistent. In the end, it became unnerving. Yoshiko sighed, as though in sympathy for the poor set upon Rico of last year. I wondered what the Rico this old man had coveted looked like. I doubt she would have looked then much different to the current Rico, except a bit smaller, maybe? Even smaller than she was already? I clenched my teeth together. All of a sudden, I felt rather angry. sorry for the poor thing. She'd been trained to say yes to her mother her whole life, and nobody ever taught her no. She just tried to bear with the attention as best she could. I think she was worried. If her mother knew, she'd blame her for it somehow. You've seen how particular Miss Kakiuchi gets about her sleeves. Yes, I noticed. Rika wasn't going to say anything. In the end, I had to step in. I couldn't stand the sight of her so sad and forlorn. It was heartbreaking. I can't imagine, I said. I was feeling distinctly out of sorts listening to the tale. It was being told secondhand. This man was no longer staying in the Azami Inn. Why then did I feel such a desperate desire to throttle him? Violence was not in my nature, and I was startled by the intensity of my own feelings. I just couldn't bear the thought of Rico suffering. When Miss Kakiuchi heard, she was outraged, but not at Rico. That man. Yoshiko's lips curved into a sly smile. Let's just say he'll never be coming back here again. You made it sound like Miss Kakiuchi killed him. She was close to it. The old man nearly had a seizure, said Yoshiko, grinning. Well, good, I said curtly. I don't regard myself as a malicious person, and the thought of an elderly man suffering is not the kind of thought that would make me say good under normal circumstances, but these were not normal circumstances. This was about Rico. Yoshiko must have been amused at my stony indifference to the old man's plight, because she began to chuckle. I thought much the same. We all did. We were glad to see him go. I respected Miss Kakiuchi a lot back then. Yoshiko brushed a strand of dark hair behind her ear before continuing with her tale. People don't like Miss Kakiuchi overly much, and I can't say I blame them. She's not an easy person to get on with. You can't help but respect her. Even if people don't like her, they respect her, and respect can be a hard thing to get. Here's the thing, though, said Rico, her voice softening. You can say what you want about Miss Kakiuchi, but she does love Reiko. She really, truly loves her. She's completely devoted to her. I did get that feeling, yes, I said after a pause. Her love for her daughter seems rather intense. Of course it's intense. Miss Kakiuchi doesn't have anyone else in her life to love. Her husband is dead, and she never liked him very much anyway. No? I asked, curious, despite myself. Idly, I wondered how much I had become such a gossip. I was just as bad as the housewives Tsuchiko spoke with at her art classes. Not that Tsuchiko had any aspirations of being a painter. Tsuchiko doesn't have any aspirations at all, really. She's a remarkably unambitious woman. She only attends those classes so she can swap recipes and share stories with the legions of other bored, middle-aged women who paint lopsided vases every Wednesday for want of something better to do. In my defense, there really was nothing else to do in the Azami Inn than swap stories. I've been working here 15 years, and I remember old Nabu. Though only vaguely, he really was old, and that wasn't a figure of speech. He had a good 20 years on Miss Kakiuchi, said Yoshiko. Then I take it their marriage was not a happy one? I inquired. Yoshiko pondered, glancing to one side as she did so. Well, Nabu wasn't a cruel man. He could be a bit blunt sometimes, but so can Miss Kakiuchi. But maybe she became blunt after being married to him for so long. Yoshiko frowned. I don't think they were unhappy, but they weren't happy either. Then why did Miss Kakiuchi marry him? The villagers say she did it for money. But the inn is failing, isn't it? It is now, but that wasn't always the case. The Kakiuchi family used to be rather wealthy. I stapled my fingers together, resting my elbows against the kotatsu, and pondered. In any case, Miss Kakiuchi doesn't have any family nearby. She doesn't have any friends. She only has Rico. That sounds rather stifling, I said, my voice trailing away. I didn't know whether I was talking about Rico or her mother. It is stifling. It's stifling for both of them, said Yoshiko. Though Rika loves Miss Kakiuchi, and Miss Kakiuchi certainly undoubtedly loves Rico. It's not a healthy love. I'm worried about them, both of them. If you truly love something, you should let it go, I said, reciting a tried and tested cliche as old as the shrine in the forest and the trees that surrounded it. Yoshiko nodded. That's right. Miss Kakiuchi loves Reiko, but I don't think she loves her enough to let her leave. I passed most of that day in my room, trying to write, but getting nowhere. When I closed my eyes, Reiko was all I could think about. Maybe I wasn't so very dissimilar to Miss Kakiuchi after all. Miss Kakiuchi clung to Rico, twining her arms around her like vines, because she was desperate and lonely. Above all else, she loved her. She loved Rico so much it was like slow-acting poison, a special kind of sickness. Miss Kakiuchi loved her daughter much, it was going to kill her. But wasn't I the same? When Yoshiko had regaled me with the stories about a young Rico attempting to fend off an overly eager suitor, I too had been nettled by the gross injustice of it all. In such a situation, I fear I would have behaved much like Miss Kakiuchi had. It was little wonder then that Rico who appeared to attract unwholesome men, was kept under such a close eye by her mother. After that incident, Miss Kakiuchi must have been more sensitive to the covert glances men shot her precious little girl. But Rika was not a little girl anymore. She was a child on the cusp of becoming a young woman. Surely Rika was old enough now to know what she wanted? But how could one blame Miss Kakiuchi for being concerned about our relationship? I hardly knew Rico, yet I had been spending a good deal of time with her, away from the protection of Miss Kakiuchi's ever-watchful gaze. I remember wondering if that was what this looked like to Miss Kakiuchi, a repeat performance from last year, a much belated curtain call. I was another old man trying to steal away her baby, just as Miss Kakiuchi herself had been stolen years upon years ago. This time, however, the situation was rather precarious, because Rico wanted to go off with me unwillingly. I wondered why. Was that because she genuinely liked me? Had fireworks stirred her soul so much she wanted nothing more than to stay by my side like a poetic muse? It seemed unlikely. I didn't doubt that Rico enjoyed my company. She must have, else she wouldn't have sought it out of her volition, but there was something a touch delirious about the smile she bequeathed me. There weren't like Yoshiko's smiles, which were casual and easy, without asking for anything in return. I had wondered before, but this thought came back to me during these Rico-less hours as I stared at the falling snow through my open window. Maybe, in her own immature, unsuspecting manner, Rico was trying to manipulate me. Ooh, buddy. Alright, guys. That was a rather short 5th day. So, we will get back into going to the 6th day after this, the final day. So, until then, guys, have a good one.